Welcome to Selling in Under 8 Minutes. It's a big subject, but we can do it. There are lots of models of selling. I'm going to show you consultative selling in a moment. But first of all, what is selling? Now, it's not using any method you can to ram your product down the throat of some customer who doesn't really want it or need it. Oh no, selling's about helping the customer to make the right decision, helping them to decide which product to buy. And if it's not yours, then that's fine, because we're building up a long-term relationship with customers. Selling's much easier when it's a repeat with an existing customer who trusts you. And then you have word of mouth and everything else spreads and it gets easier. So the first part of proper selling is to build a relationship. I'll come to how to do this in a moment. Once you've got a relationship, you can then diagnose what their needs are. I'm deliberately using a medical term here because we really want to understand what their problems are. And then we can talk about how we can help them. We can then prescribe a solution. So we can decide what the best solution for them will be. Now, if the solution fits their needs, how can they possibly argue with that? They're going to be delighted that we've helped them. So the last bit is to take the order. We don't need any high pressure closing techniques or any of that, because they've already agreed that they want to do it and they already like and trust us. So that's the process. So let's briefly look at what we do at those stages. So the first stage is to build a relationship, and basically we need to be liked at this point. Nobody's going to buy from someone they don't like. So you have to be the most likable person there is. Now, how do we do that? And the answer is partly body language, treating them as if they're important, looking them in the eyes, shaking their hand, and a proper handshake, etc. So I would say, make me feel important is a phrase taken from How to Win Friends and Influence People. Bit of a dated book, but I still love the idea that everyone wants to be made to feel important. So how do we do that? And it's partly good body language, but it's also that we ask questions and we listen. We spend as much time listening to the other person as we can. Now, listening is going to be important when we're diagnosing the needs as well. But when you're building the relationship, you're not talking about yourself. You're listening to them and finding out about them. And then the final part of being liked is finding common ground, which also comes from listening, of course. So we can find things that we've got in common with them. They will trust our judgment more if we're a similar person to them. Now, common ground also means being a similar person to them in terms of personality. So we don't want to be dishonest, but we do want to adapt a little bit to their style of communication. So, for example, if they like to talk quickly, we should talk quickly. If they're an enthusiastic, bouncy person, we should make an effort to be enthusiastic and bouncy and show them the exciting, fun aspects of what we're selling. If they're a detail person, we want to show them all the details of what we're doing so that they can be sure that everything is spot on. And if they're a cuddly, friendly, nice person, then we want to put our feet up and have a nice coffee with them and chat to them about their family and not be pushing them into making a decision. Some people like to take their time. They like to get to know you as a person. Other people don't want to get to know you at all as a person. They just want you to cut to the chase. So what's in it for me? Why should I buy this? Show me the top 3 benefits. So the idea is to adapt to their style of communication. So the next step, and we've already hinted at this, is to diagnose the needs by lots of questioning and listening. And the model I like to use for this is something called the questioning funnel. And the idea of the questioning funnel is that you start with quite open questions. So you might say, for example, who do you buy from at the moment? What's good or bad about them or their product? What's made you talk to us? So you want to find out what it is they're looking for with really open questions. And as soon as they say something interesting, you then probe and you say, well, tell me more about that. Why is that a problem? And what would be the ideal solution for that? So probing questions, which are really just tell me more about that. Then after the probing questions, you then come to the more closed questions. Things like, so if we could fix that for you, would that be of interest? So closed questions have a yes or no answer. And clearly we're looking to get the answer yes from them at that point. We can then prescribe the solution. And the key with the solution is benefits, not features. So features versus benefits. Customers don't buy features. I don't care whether my car has a double wishbone suspension. I don't even know what that is. But if it means I can go around the corners quicker or have a smoother ride, then I'm interested. And of course, I've already said I want to change my car because my current one doesn't go around corners quick enough. So the salesperson can then go, well, in that case, we can help you because we've got double wishbone, which means you can go around the corner faster. So if it's got the phrase which means in it, then you're doing it right. So what we do is, we don't just talk about benefits. You can go around corners quicker, because why should I believe you? Whereas if you've got a feature that explains the benefit, then I'll believe you. But we also don't talk about just features, because I don't care about those. We do both. And we only do the ones the customer has said they want. So if going around corners is my big obsession, you tell me about the features and that benefit. You don't tell me about other benefits like space in the boot, because maybe I don't want that benefit. Okay, so selective benefits backed up by features. And then finally, we take the order. And we do need to have some sort of a close, but just have one you're comfortable with. Some sort of close, some sort of phrase which basically asks them for the order. With training, I say to them, well, roughly when do you want to have the training? And then I say, okay, should we pencil in a date? So that's the close I like to use. So you should have a close you're always happy with. Now, one more thing can happen after the close, which is sometimes you get an objection and they say, well, I think it's good, but it's too expensive. And there are two things to do with objections. The first one is to peel the onion. And this is where you take off layers until you get to the real objection. So if they say it's too expensive, you just say, well, apart from the price, what do you think? And if they say, well, I love it apart from the price, then you know that price really is the problem and we have to handle it. If they say, well, apart from the price, I'm also not entirely sure that it can fulfill this bit of my needs, now you know it wasn't price at all, but there's another problem. So you need to fix the deeper down problem. So how do we handle the problem that we have now discovered is the real one, whatever it might be? And there are all sorts of ways, but I rather like feel, felt, found, which is a very polite way to tell people they're wrong. So this is where you say, I know how you feel. I felt the same way when I first looked at it. I thought it was expensive, or I thought it was a bit too big or whatever. But what I found was, when I used it, that actually it didn't really matter that it was big, because it was still really easy to park, because it's got those reversing cameras. Or I found that actually the price didn't matter because it was so reliable, or it lasted so long, it actually worked out cheaper for me in the end. So I know how you feel. I felt the same way, but what I found was. So that's how you handle objections. Find the real one and then use feel, felt, found. But the main thing is to have it pre-prepared. So when that objection comes up, you know exactly what to say. Because there's a very small number of objections that you get. And as long as you've got an answer to all of them pre-prepared, then you're going to be fine. So my final point about sales is actually to prepare. Prepare your open questions you're going to use for diagnosing. Prepare your list of features and benefits so you can immediately show them the features that will give them the benefits that they want. Prepare your close and prepare how you're going to handle all of the commonest objections. And that is sales in under 8 minutes.